Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our interesting discussion about funding for master studies in the United States of America. Many of you have the desire to study abroad, and for some of you, your preferred destination is United States. But sometimes you wonder about funding opportunities. We all know that to study in US it's quite expensive. Apart from tuition, the living expenses, taxes, and health insurance altogether can be quite cumbersome. And so, usually, people are looking for uh, funds that will minimize their responsibility of providing funds or tuition towards their study. So today I have brought with me to the studio an expert, I would say, in the field. He himself has obtained master studies in the United States. He was fully funded for his studies. He even finished his studies in record time, and he is one of the renowned content creators for study abroad and specifically study in the US. He has helped a lot of people to secure funds for their master's studies from different parts of the world. So I have with me Danny Legend. He's joining us from the US and he's going to give us a lot of insight about funding opportunities in the US. So I would now invite Danny on stage.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Hi,
Thank you.
how are you doing?
I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing great.
Awesome.
Thanks for joining us. I did a bit of introduction about you, and I would expect you to tell us more about yourself, your background, and what motivated you to get into studying in the US, and on top, using your platform to help other people secure the same opportunity that you had to study in US.
Right. So first of all, my name is Daniel Ampa, but my brand name is Danny Legend. If you go everywhere, that's the name you would find me with. And I'm originally from Ghana. I don't know if you have an international audience, but some people might be wondering, okay, so where is he from? I'm from Ghana. I pursued bachelor's in economics at the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST for short. So I'm here today pursuing. I did pursue applied economics, so I am done with my master's program, and I was on full scholarship, as some of you are curious to know. So I believe that's why we are here today to talk about it. And I also run different social media handles with the same name that the legend where I share study abroad content. I talk about open scholarships. I just share information. That's basically what I do because I feel like it is time that we also give back to the community to help people realize their study abroad dreams. Yeah. So
I'm
thank you.
really impressed with your activities, and because I'm your follower, I sometimes see the post. Um, from a lot of your people you have advised and given tips to, thanking
Right.
you for securing scholarship, for getting admission, and so on and so forth.
Mhm.
And I've also
Yeah.
seen you interviewed a lot of people. Some had several different packages of scholarship for their studies.
Mhm.
And that's why I'm motivated to also bring you to talk to people who might knew the same opportunity. So, can you tell us
Yeah.
briefly about your journey to the United States and precisely North Dakota State University? Um, what did you do special to put you in a place, and then what kind of funding did you attract? We will start from there before we dive into the other available fundings for master studies in the US.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you very much for the question. So it first of all starts from a heartbreaking point where I had to go through three rejections at the US Embassy, and being successful in the fourth attempt shows that I was really determined to travel and study abroad. One time, when I finished my bachelor's degree, a friend sent me a PhD advertisement, in North Dakota State University. I was like, yeah, I'm not ready for PhD. I'm not ready for any school. Yeah, I want to just go and find a job and all that. And I was also doing my own thing. I was doing my website design, graphic design. These are things I learned on my own. So before even attempting school, I was like, let me just focus on this. See, I can make it in my own trade, entrepreneurship, blah, blah, blah. But the friend was like, yeah, I know you're a good student back in school. Apply, you have good grades. Why? We that we didn't even do well in school, we are here. And you are sitting down, you don't want to do anything. So later on, something happened, which is very, very personal. So it happened, and I was like, no, I have to try this school thing again. And at that time, the PhD program was, it was a bit on and off. So I couldn't apply for PhD this time around. So I had to go for the master's program. And I sent in my documents, applied within like a space of maybe 3 weeks to 1 month. I was done with all the documents that I needed, and I forwarded it to the school. So how many? I think about 4 or 5 months down the line, I got response from them that I had gotten the admission and then the funding was provided and all that. I was like, wow. So this thing was there for the year and I was slacking, you know. So that has been my journey. My journey started from a place of disappointment, all hope is lost, because even before that, even before I got entrance to come in 2023, the beginning of 2023, I had applied for masters in 2018, got rejected, applied for masters 2019, got rejected at the embassy. Okay. But before that too, there was a 2010 visitors visa, I got rejected. So that was three already. So that's a breaking point for a lot of people, right? I mean, I know people that have helped, they got one rejection, they're like, "Chal, I can't do this thing again. Oh, that's all. I'm done with US." I'm like, then you don't really like you are not desperate to enter the country. Maybe you just want to try something out. So that's been my journey. Yeah, yeah. I think we cannot hear you. You are muted. You probably have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, sorry, but when you're talking, I think that there is a feedback in your mic. I don't know if you are is it's because you are too close to your mic or something. I it's
Uh,
yeah, I can hear you all right, but I feel like it can be a little bit better. Can you speak?
Hello.
Yeah,
Is it a sound? Is
yeah,
it
it's a sound like
okay? All right. Hold on. Let me reconnect.
sure. Whilst you do that, I would want to emphasize the fact that um the story about studying abroad, sometimes you may think it's unique to one particular person, the difficulties, the rejections, and stuff. But all the people that I have interviewed would point to one thing. There are points where you will fail a lot, and there are points where if you don't give up, you will succeed. I'm a typical example, and many people say the same story. So I think
Mm-hmm.
one inspiration that people need to get from this is that probably study abroad issue is not just a one-time successful story. You
Right.
will be fortunate to have it approved or be successful just upon one try. You would be fortunate, and I bet you maybe you will be among the 5% who can apply once and get it. But the majority of people I've spoken to, some had to put more than 100 applications for a particular program. Yes,
Yeah.
to get a scholarship. Of course, you might get the school all right based on your academic prowess or excellence. But if you don't get the funding and if you don't even get the visa, then it doesn't matter that you got admission, right? So
Right.
Thank you for sharing that with us. And our listeners should know that if you try once and then you don't succeed, you don't need to give up. I was speaking with one one guy from Zambia, and he told me that he wrote the test and he didn't succeed. So if he tries once and he doesn't succeed, he's giving up. I mean, the first one you tried, you have learned something, right? You
Oh
even know the
yeah,
nature of the questions and all that stuff. So at
definitely.
least you are approaching it with a certain level of experience, and it wouldn't be the same.
Right.
All right. So, um,
But is
how
my
did you?
sound okay now?
Yes, very good.
Oh,
Now it's
okay, okay.
very
All
good.
right. All right. Thank
Thank
you.
you very much for fixing it
All
for
right.
us. Uh, so, the next question is for you personally. Before I jumped into other people's experiences that you know of, how did you secure your fund for and how long was it, and what was the requirement on your part?
Okay. So a lot of people do ask me that should they have to email or secure any professor before they do that? And I would say it depends on the school and it depends on the department. Some departments will say that, you know what, secure someone, let's know someone is ready to work with you before you turn in an application for assistantship. And some schools you would say that, you know what, just apply. We would select the best and let them work with professors. So my school was such that you'd have to just apply, get the funding, just say in your statement of purpose that, you know what, you want to do research assistantship jobs. You want to be a teaching assistant or an RA, a research assistant. And then when you gain admission and you come to the school in the fall semester, every professor is going to come during the research philosophy class and they're going to pitch themselves. So now, instead of you rather selling yourself to the professor that, see, I'm a good student, I want to work with you, it is rather the professor coming to pitch to you that this is my project and I'm looking for people who are motivated to do this with me. So that's my school, North Dakota State University. That's how it worked. So I came in spring, and during the spring semester, I didn't even do any research work because the professors had not yet pitched in the fall.
Mhm,
So fall semester they came to pitch, but the lucky thing for me was that during my spring semester, I'd already spoken to one professor that I was going to work with him, or I
mhm,
wanted to work with him. So he was like, "Okay, why not? I mean, we could have waited for the fall, but if you are ready to start something, let's do it." So that's how come I started with him. So by the time they were pitching on which students to work with, he had already secured me, and he told them that, oh, he started a project with me already. So nobody selected him because everybody knew he was already working with me. Yeah. So that is how it began for me. The application process. It started out by, first of all, I sent an email, even though that's not necessary for my school. I still sent an email to a professor, but I was only asking him questions that were not on the website,
mhm.
because you don't want to ask questions that are on website. It means that you don't like to do your own research and you are in quote a lazy student. Because why would you ask the professor what is already on the website? It's like you're telling me, no, I want information from you. I don't want to go and read anything. So that is why some of you, your emails are not responded to because you are asking questions that are on the website. So the professor will just ignore you, right? So that is
Mhm,
one thing that we also have to notice. And mine started with an email where I emailed them. I got a response. They said they they needed a minimum of 150 on the GRE quantitative, and then they were also having assistantships available for the spring semester. So I was like, oh, why not? I'll apply. So that's how come I tended in my application. Yeah.
Thank you very much. So basically, if I get you right, and per what the little information I have, some of the studies application, once you are admitted, it comes with some form of funding, right? So when
Yeah,
you are
some of them.
admitted, you are considered for the funding, and there are
Mhm.
others that you might need to look for fundings after application after you have been admitted, if your admission doesn't automatically come with funding, right?
Yeah.
All right, okay. So can you take us through the various funding opportunities or um, programs that are available for specifically international students to study master's program in the USA?
Okay, so funding generally comes in three forms for most schools. Some
Mm,
schools could be four, but for most schools in the US, it's three. We have the teaching assistantship, we have the research assistantship, and we have the administrative assistantship. So, research assistantship simply means that you are going to help a professor with research work. And then teaching assistantship means you are going to help them to teach undergrads. So, if you're coming as a master's student, you will be the one teaching the Americans in the undergrad class and you'll be grading their marks. Okay. And then the administrative is where you work in the office, maybe where you help with printing, documentation, anything office related. That is the administrative side. So that is how it's categorized. And you are given a monthly stipend as compensation for the hours you put in for work. And every international student is entitled to 20 hours a week. But with the 20 hours a week, there's no clock that you are looking at and saying that, okay, this clock, I'm looking at the clock is 20 hours. No, you are just working as and when. But on paper, it is considered as 20 hours.
oh,
Okay.
okay.
So the professor will say, Daniel, I have this data. I want you to analyze something for me. Do some risk analysis on this and present the results to me. I want to compare it to something. That's your work maybe for the week. So as a risk RA, you are doing that work for that week, and you are not looking at the clock saying, "Hey, professor, it's 20 hours, so I'm done." So
You can
no,
even do 40 hours and you
you can
still be
even do
doing it
40 hours,
right.
but on paper, it's considered as 20 hours. So that's what we mean. But if you are doing an on-campus job because you didn't get maybe
Yeah.
an RA
Yeah.
position,
Mm-hmm.
that job was is timed
Mm-hmm.
because that on-campus job, if you're in the library, you clock in that you've entered, right? So that one,
Mm-hmm.
there's a clock in, clock out system. If you're in a
Mm-hmm.
dining hall, clock in,
Mm-hmm.
clock out. So that one is regimented
Mm-hmm.
compared to the one you are doing in the office.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have the teaching assistant where you teach. So professor is going to say that, oh, you know what? I have a business meeting in Colorado, or I have maybe usually not business meeting because they are doing conference stuff, not really business stuff, but just saying. So maybe he has a conference in Colorado in another state. He wants you to take the class for this coming Friday.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe he told you that last week. So he'll give you the curriculum, start preparing, study this thing. So you are doing your master's, so but you are still studying for undergrad just to go and teach them. And with teaching assistantship, you must be someone who knows how to talk and who knows how to elaborate on things.
Mm-hmm.
So that you will not talk for 5 minutes in a 1 hour class and be like, class, I think we are done for today. There's nothing to say. Any questions? I know somebody who was a teaching assistant, a Ghanaian. After
I
like
know.
15 minutes, he was done for a 1 hour, 15 minutes class. Means that he had 1 hour left. And he was asking the student, anyone has a question? And they don't want to ask questions because they want to close and go home. So they were just there watching him. Any questions? So now he had to start going over everything that he had already discussed to buy time.
Hmm.
So when you want to
I
become a TA, you have to know how to expand and while away the time.
Okay, so let me ask this quickly so you can clarify because
Right.
you pointed three categories: the teaching assistantship, the research assistantship, and then the
Yeah.
administrative office work. Is the campus job under administrative work? Because I was going to ask you, you mentioned something like if you go to the
Yeah.
library and stuff, and maybe like if you are working in the accommodation facility,
Right.
are they all under the administrative work? Just I want to understand that.
Okay. So
Or
they are,
they are.
they are okay. So they are separate. Administrative. In the department, you are going to have several offices, right? You have
Mhm,
some offices where they are doing some photocopy, printing, support. PC support, email handling, and all that. So you can be an assistant in one of the offices, handling these emails, handling these support systems, and all that, right? And
mm,
then with the on campus jobs, you could be, let's say, working in the dining hall. Let me give you an
okay.
example. When I came, I didn't have 20 hours of work per week. I had 10 hours of research assistantship duties. And that 10 hours is still like you're working for 40 hours, like I said. So on paper, I had 10 hours. That means that as an international student, since I'm entitled to 20 hours a week, I have to go and find 10 elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
So now went to the dining hall that I want to serve here. So I was serving food, washing plates, and all that.
And you were
For
eating
10,
for free.
I was eating for free then. I wanted a free there, you eat it for free. So and you're entitled to maybe like you're entitled to 15 minutes of lunch break, and then you can also eat before you work, and you can eat after work. So you can eat 3 times if you are a foodie. Okay. So that's on the side. So I had to do 10 hours at the dining hall to compensate for the 10 hours I had in research. So if you add it to what you get, 20.
20.
But because the dining hall one is clock in, clock out, if I do even 20 hours, 30 minutes, I can be deported
Oh, okay.
because it is so strict. So when you are going for a dining hall job, you have to go for 9 hours, 30 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Worst case scenario, 9 hours, 45. I know somebody who did an extra 1 hour. He was sent back to Ghana.
Yeah,
US
that's
is that's
that's
US
very
for
strict.
you, man.
Yeah.
That's US for you. Yeah,
Unfortunately, in Czech Republic, you can work all, all you want and nobody cares as long
okay.
as you are able to fulfill your academic
Academic. Yeah.
responsibilities.
I,
Um,
I I think initially it was like that, but they realized that people
People
who
do
came
not
to the US were
study.
hard on the
Mm,
dollar. Like they
mm,
wanted to come and make money. So
mm.
they're like, hey, let's put a restriction on this.
That is one thing about many international students, when they are out there, instead of them to put more effort into finishing their studies, or the first the primary aim for going, they become entangled with the money issues. And yeah, I
Yeah.
understand that. That's just by the way.
Mhm.
So I have a question regarding the I see several programs, or the universities and programs, right? And then let's say um, MS, Master of Science in Molecular and Cellular Biology. And then when you read the admission requirement beneath it, they will write almost everybody accepted is funded, right? So this kind of funding, does it come with, let's say, either a teaching assistantship, administrative assistance, or research assistantship, or um, it's a different category altogether?
Okay. So when we say funding, especially for the STEM fields, those who do the biology stuff, the engineering, most of them are research works.
Mm-hmm,
You will hardly see a teaching assistant job for a STEM field. If it's
mm-hmm,
going to be a STEM field, if it's going to be a teaching assistantship, rather, it's going to be courses like English, where
mm.
they don't
Oh, okay.
really do research,
Mm-hmm,
or courses like what was the other communication. Those
mm-hmm,
courses, those arts courses, they are
mm-hmm.
usually TAs.
Oh, okay.
Once in a while, you might have a research assistant, but they are not as much as compared to the STEM fields. So they take you on as a research assistant, and then they pay you uh, monthly stipend. Yeah,
Okay. All right. Thank you for that clarification.
right.
Um, is there anything like academic excellence scholarship or funding based on just your academic performance, that you are not required to do any of the three categories of work, like teaching assistantship, research assistantship, or something of the sort in in the US? If you
Okay.
happen
So
to.
usually, that is going to thank you for your question. That's a very good one. Usually, what happens is that if you're outside the country and you're going to come in, you're either going to come in as research T or administrative or lab assistant. Okay, that's another thing I was going to say when I said that other schools will have four kinds of
Oh, okay.
assistantship.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so with these excellence scholarships, there are two things involved. Number one is you could be outside the country coming in, especially for those who have written the SATs, high school people
Mm-hmm.
moving into,
Mm-hmm.
you've written SATs, ACTs. When they excel, they can be given an excellence scholarship to come and study, fully covered or partially
Mm-hmm.
covered, depending on what's available. And
Mm-hmm.
then for master students, you could be in the school after you've gained admission. They could still have internal scholarships that they are going to give to students if they maintain a GPA of 3.0 and above.
Okay.
So your first semester, usually you don't even qualify because when I came, internal scholarships were open. But because the first semester wasn't yet over, right, I didn't yet
Mm-hmm.
have a GPA, so I couldn't even qualify for the internal scholarships. But afterwards, you are now eligible because you have a GPA. They can say that, oh, you're an excellent student. We want to give you an extra $1,000.
Mm-hmm. Oh, okay.
So yeah, I have a couple of my mates who got like $5,000 in excellence scholarship. They wanted them to go and present something at the conference. And that's another kind of excellence scholarship that comes separate from the research assistantship one that you had. Okay. So usually that's how it works. Either you are already outside, you are now coming in and you are given some kind of merit based scholarship because of your academic prowess, or you come inside and then because of the maintenance of that GPA, you are given extra money as a booster for you. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Now, I know that you have stated the various categories, the three or four categories of funding that is very popular in the United States for master studies,
Right.
depending on which university. But I want to ask, for example, if I am an aspiring master student, I have applied, I've been admitted, but the university did not consider me for any of the four or three categories that we have previously discussed. Are there still possibilities to seek funding within the United States, or maybe elsewhere to support my studies, or to support my visa application for
Okay.
master study in the US?
Okay. Thank you. Another good question. There are two things involved. Number one, if you don't get funding, what should you do? Number one, you can email the department again and say that, you know what, I've got admission, this and this and that, but do you have assistantship positions available for the semester of fall 2025? Some are going to respond and say, oh, yeah, we do have. This is the link you can follow and fill the form if you want to be considered. That is a school that did not give you the form when you were filling the form to be admitted. You only got to know after admission, you realize that, oh, I don't have funding. And then they now redirected you to a place where you can go and fill a form to be considered for funding. That's one aspect of it. Or the department is going to tell you that, you know what, we don't have funding. Okay, we don't have funding. So you can only come here and sponsor yourself. Let your sponsor spend money to take care of you, living expenses and all that. All we have done for you is to give you the admission to come here. That is one side of the story. Another story that I always recommend to people after they have tried emailing the department and not getting funding is that they should apply to a different school. And I was saying this on my Telegram page that it's like when your boyfriend or girlfriend leaves you, there are many people in town. There are many
Experience.
new people in town. So you can get another boyfriend or girlfriend in town. So don't be attached to one school and say that, oh, as for this school, North Dakota State University, the way they were chatting with me, I like the school, I want to apply. If they don't give me admission, I'm not going anywhere again. No, that's not how it works. If they don't give you funding, look for another school. There are about 1,000 colleges in the US. You can apply over 500 to 1,000 schools. You can apply and get funding. So if you don't get funding through the email or through the acceptance letter that comes to you,
Mhm.
always look for another school. That's what I would say.
Thank
Yeah.
you very much. So, um, between the public universities and the private ones, I learned that there are usually more fundings in the public universities than the private universities. Do you agree to that? And then the follow up is also comparing predominantly black universities or colleges. There is the southern kind of universities that
Right.
is noted to be predominantly blacks.
Mhm.
Apart from probably easy admission process, do you think there are also higher possibility of people being funded in such institutions than their counterpart prestigious white universities or private universities.
Okay, so the first one was about private universities and public universities, right? Thank you for the
Yep.
question. So private universities have less money, even though some of them are research-based universities.
Hmm.
They don't as much as receive grants from the government as the public universities do. Public universities that are involved in research are called land grant universities. The land gives them the grant. So
Mm.
land grant universities are schools with money. They are funding. One of the ways you can do a good research on the kind of schools to apply to, I shared this one time on my YouTube, is that I called it the golden tip for applying for schools in US. Go
Okay.
and Google land grant universities in the US. Okay, because sometimes some of us apply to private universities that don't have money for research. So you're going to get it, but you don't really get the funding because they don't have money. Unless, of course, some private company with a lot of money says that, hey, we want some of your students to do research for us. So we're going to give them monthly stipend. In that case, you can have private schools having a lot of money to fund research. But usually, the funding is going to come from the public universities, the land grant ones. So look for land grant universities and apply to those ones more than you would apply to private universities. Anytime you come across a university, ask yourself or ask the internet, is this a private university or a public one? Okay. And then make sure you're going for the public ones to heighten your chances of getting a fully funded scholarship. And
Okay.
then your second question was about the predominantly black universities, right?
Yep.
What are our success rates? I think and I believe that success rate for any kind of university, whether
Oh, black.
predominantly white or predominantly black, is the fact that once you're a good student, they don't really mind your race.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have met the requirement, because there's no part of the requirement that says that, you know what, if you're a black person, you have a lower chance. So I feel that sometimes it's
We
just a
exaggerate.
rumor. Yes, or
Mm-hmm.
we exaggerate, or we've seen something on the screens that make
Mm-hmm.
us think that, oh, I if I try to apply for a white university, I'm not really gonna have a high chance. Guess what? My state, we only have 5% blacks. The
Mm-hmm.
whole state. 5% blacks. And my school, apart from the people coming from Africa and a few African Americans, even the Africans are more than African Americans, right?
Mm-hmm.
Apart from that, there is literally no black person around. Okay. But the school is fully funding us. When you come to my department, a lot of blacks are there, fully funded.
Mm-hmm.
So that alone can help me debunk the myth that it's race based. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you very much. Now, the main one main question.
Yeah.
I have seen you interview people who got several fundings and sometimes in excess of probably what they need for their studies. Can you share with us their cheat code? And what I mean by cheat code is what they did special, what made them stand out in this kind of um, funding applications that got them these money scholarship. I think a lot of our people would want to know.
Okay. All right. Thank you. So I get a lot of concern about people not having a very high GPA.
Mm-hmm,
Okay. And I don't want you to restrain yourself and say that, oh, because I didn't get a perfect GPA or I didn't get 3.0, I don't think I stand a chance. I'm not even going to try.
mm-hmm,
The thing is, some of the people I bring on my show are not the best of students, but they were able to secure full funding. So, what's the secret or the cheat code? The cheat code is writing a strong statement of purpose. Someone can have a 3.7 out of a 4 GPA, but guess what? His statement of purpose is trash, in quote. But someone has 3.0 or 2.8, but their statement of purpose is strong, is motivating. You can see that this person, if you give them a chance, they're going to do great things. That's what they are looking at. They want to see your story. They are intrigued by your story. What is your story? How far have you come? What has been your past experiences? Where do you see yourself in the next 5 to 10 years? Are you an
mm-hmm,
ambitious person?
mm-hmm,
They want to see all these things, these elements captured in your statement of purpose. So if you are able to do that, and you show them, oh, I'm not the best of students, I didn't do so well in school, but this is my goal. They can be like, oh, you know what, fully funded.
Or probably for specific reasons or circumstances you couldn't score so much higher
Exactly. Maybe you were
GPA,
sick
but you
or
were, yeah.
something.
Hmm.
Yeah, sick, or maybe your father or a family member died and it affected you mentally. You couldn't concentrate on your studies to yield the best of the results that usually your potential would accomplish. But I mean, yeah, there are so many things to it. And also, you can prop up your profile with a very good GRE score. Maybe you didn't
Hmm.
do well in school, but you
Hmm.
studied so hard for the GRE, you did
Hmm.
so well. They'll be like, okay, something is not matching, oh, because you didn't do well in school, but you are doing so well in the GRE. That means that, well, you've become better. You've
Yeah,
become better. So you will
yeah,
do better, right?
yeah.
Because the GRE too is hard.
It's
To
hard.
be honest with you, it's
Actually, it's
hard.
difficult. So
Yeah,
basically, I will want to add this to what you are saying, and sometimes this cuts across for seeking fundings and other things. GRE is a graduate record exams, is a kind of aptitude test to see
yeah,
how well you will do or establish yourself when you are employed or you are
right,
admitted to study in graduate school. Um,
right.
the truth is that yesterday I said it during a webinar, and I will say it again here, that studying abroad, further studies abroad, is a kind of investment. And if you know what you want and the direction you want to go, you wouldn't be troubled investing time and some small amount of money
Yeah,
into yourself to enhance your chance of getting this. I think for the economics and those related field, yes, the GRE or the GMAT or the SAT are kind of a requirement. I was checking for PhD scholarship for a colleague, and all the public administration economic PhDs that I found, they want a certain score, minimum score for GREs. And you realize that most of these people who want to study abroad, study on full scholarship, they don't even have these requirements. So it doesn't even give them the qualification to first apply. And you know all the programs they write that you are funded upon admission, but you don't even have the GRE, which is a requirement to apply for.
mhm,
In other jurisdictions, you will see that they will say it's optional, right?
right.
It's not a requirement, which is okay. But the scholarship and funding terrain is quite competitive. You are
Yeah,
not the only person looking for it. There are several people from around the
applications.
world
Yeah,
competing for the same funds. And even if it is optional, and let's say Daniel, Danny has GPA 3.4, I had 3.4. We have almost similar work experience and stuff. And then Danny has a GRE and I don't have GRE. Even though it's not a requirement, it's optional. And
yeah,
they have to choose one to give the an award to. Whom do you think they're going to choose? The one that has the. So
yeah,
I feel like once you decide to study abroad on scholarship, you should invest time in yourself, read about the various elements or um, yeah, the various elements of the application that will make you stand out,
right.
right? Like you rightly said, the statement of purpose. Trust me, the university is going to spend on you, is going to invest in you. And this ranking and all those things, it covers how many graduates are finishing, how are they doing well in research, which positions are they occupying in the society and stuff. How many of your people get um employed and all that. So
Mhm.
for the university or the faculty to invest such money in you, they they want to find something unique in you that will benefit the university. They are not just in need of people coming to study and going back.
Yeah.
And that is why the statement of purpose is key. You don't
Mhm.
even necessarily have to lie, because if you are really academic person and you have your thoughts together and carved your
Mhm.
your academic path for yourself, you can write naturally to prove that you would excel, and that should convince them enough to offer you what you look for. So I think this is
Right.
quite key and very important in the search for funding or attract
Mhm.
funding for master studies. Probably because we're talking about master studies, we limit it to master studies, but I feel like it can even extend beyond master studies, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
All right.
Even into
So
PhD
quickly,
and all that.
mhm,
Yeah.
mhm. As international students, or as a prospective international student
Mhm.
seeking to study a US, if I don't get any of these options you mentioned, right? The assistantship, the research research assistantship, the teaching
Right.
assistantship, the administrative assistants, and then maybe the lab assistants and all
Mhm.
that. And then I try another school and I don't get, but I have admission and stuff. Are there? Uh, so can we say that loan loan is an option for funding master studies for international students in the United States? Do you have any idea? If yes, any options or any um how is it like? And if no, that's fine also.
Okay. So for those of you who don't get funding, who want to try with a loan, I think there are agencies that do give out loans, such as Empower. Empower gives out loans, but I think with Empower is that they're going to have a list of schools. Not every school in the US do they give loans for. So they have their own list of schools in the US that they have liaised with to give out loans to students. So it's easier to track you and make sure you are paying. Yeah, so you can use a loan, but I just personally feel like people should strive to get the funding instead of the loan. Loan is an option, good, but the problem is that when you get to the visa interview, yesterday I was talking with someone and she cited a good example. If there are 10 students and everybody took a loan, few of them would have a very solid repayments plan. So they are going to, very few are going to get approved on the visa because they have a solid repayments plan. So let's say about 2 out of 10, to be very blatantly honest with you, 2 out of 10 can get the visa because they feel that the loan is going to be a financial burden for you to pay back. Because guess what? With the Empower loan, you pay the interest first for a period of many months. And after that, you are now coming to pay the principal. So you've already paid the interest, you're not coming to pay. So I tell people that, you know what, to not trouble yourself financially or burden yourself too much, strive, do your best possible to get at least some kind of funding, or at least to get 80% of funding. Even if they can't give you 100%, the school can give you 100, you can get at least 80. And the 20 you sort it out later. But if most schools for master's program, their cost is going to range from 20,000 to maybe even 60,000 for a master's program, depending on your state. Like if you go to the Massachusetts, if you go to New York, you're paying like maybe 60 to 80,000 for your master's program. But if you come to the Midwest, you'll probably be paying 20s, 30s, like my area. So let's say there are a couple of students going for the loan, and some of them went for the loan for a school in New York. Means they are going to go for big money. So the viewer is going to say that 70,000. Even me, if I'm struggling, I can't pay 70,000. How much more you? You're a student, and he's going to say no, I can't give you the visa. But someone can take a loan and he's going to the Midwest like myself, and it's 20K, 15K. View can look and say, okay, this is not too much money for this person to pay back. So you know what? I can approve you. I mean, over time you can pay this money. So it also depends on the amount you are taking in loan and also depends on your repayment plan. Somebody can take a loan for maybe 50,000 is huge to the VO. But maybe they have a very solid repayment plan. Maybe their bank statement they show or their parents' kind of work is such that they can easily pay it off. And they have a well structured plan to pay it off. The VO can consider you and say, I know what, okay, you go. So loan is a bit, there's no hard and fast rule for me to say that if your loan is like this, you're going to get it. But what I can say is that if you have funding from the school, your chances are high that you're going to get a visa. The rest is how you speak. Just speak well and defend your case. Yeah.
Thank you very much. I think that we will go to our audience for questions, and
Right.
you will respond to them accordingly. Hello, if you are still uh, connected and you have any question, kindly put it in the comment section, and we would have our guests speak to them. There is one question here. Probably we touched on it lightly, but I still want to read. It's coming from Enoch Odente. Is it always necessary to write GRE before you get funding? That is Enoch's question. How do you
Okay.
respond to that, Danny?
All right. Enoch, thank you for your question. It depends on the school's admission requirements. My school, for instance, they said they needed a GRE, so I had to send them the results. But some schools will say that, you know what, we are waiving off GRE for the coming semester. So anybody that applies, you will not need to write a GRE. If you are someone that wants to study on low budget, I'll recommend that you go for schools not taking application fee, not taking GRE, and maybe they might say that okay, you can submit an unofficial transcript before maybe after the admission you can bring your official one. So look for
Mhm.
schools that are not taking GRE if you want to go low budget style. But if you've already written it and you think you did well, you can always add it to your applications or apply to schools that are taking it. It doesn't really, yeah. So it's not always necessary to write the GRE before you get funded.
And if I want to chip in a little bit from the little experience I have applying for schools for people who want to study in US, not even it's not usually even a university thing. It's more so department or the program you want to study thing. The same university would not require GRE for some programs, but for other programs they would require um they will require a GRE. And like I said, for the economics and related business programs, some of them do request for it. So, first of all, usually it's not even that you need the GRE to get the funds. You need the GRE first to get the admission, and then when you get the admission, you are
Yeah.
considered for funding. And so, kindly take note if you are still there that GRE will not, depending on your program, might not be necessary, or depending on which university you are applying to, might not be necessary prerequisite for funding. Um, so there is another question here from Amafrema Cranting. She is asking, please, are the loans quoted in cedis or dollars based on the example Danny is giving, like 60,000, 50,000, etc.?
I
Okay.
wish I wish the loans were given in Ghana cities, but this is dollars. Okay. Because the
Mm,
school's cost of attendance is priced in dollars. So Empire could be giving you a loan and they could be giving you $50,000 loan. So you're going to be paying that $50,000 plus interest. Maybe plus interest is going to be like 70,000 or 75. So what happens is that you are going to during your school time, you'll be paying the interest. You'll be paying that 20,000 extra on that money. Okay.
mhm.
And maybe they could strike $300 every month or $500 every month. So usually that's how it is. When you're done with school, you're not coming to pay the principal. So
And
that is
I kind of feel that also, I mean, the Empower loan would be quite skeptical because the fact that you coming to study masters in US doesn't necessarily guarantee that once you finish you're going to get a
You're
job
going to
and then
stay.
pay them
Exactly.
their money and all that stuff.
Exactly.
And
Good.
so I feel like the chance of um
Defaulting.
international student getting being successful with it is high. And I'm asking this specifically because I have one client who asked me about this, that she got admission, she tried it, and they refused her. She even sent me her um letter, refusal letter, or the reasons. And I have also applied it for someone, and it was not successful. So I am, and besides, they are looking at whether you are already working some kind of thing, you
Yeah.
know, and then you are getting some income monthly, but then you, you are in immediate need of a sum of money at a go, so that probably your monthly salary, or if you are getting even let's say if you are getting steady leave would pay, the monthly amount that you are going to receive on your steady leave would pay can be expended on the interest repayment. And then you will send a statement, or they ask you your earning, and you convert Ghana cedis to dollars, and that cannot even,
It's small.
it's very minute. So
Yeah.
these are all some of the reasons why it's difficult for international students to attract this. And probably I feel like those who are successful with it are probably non-US citizens who are already in US and working, but they are not citizens yet, and they require to pay some amount of money. So um, in as much as you would want to study in US and explore of or all funding availabilities, you have to know the one that you stand a higher chance of being successful, and go for that. All
Yeah.
right.
That's true.
I think for now that is so far the um the questions we have. So do you have any final words or encouragement for people um in terms of, let's say, if they get admission? For example,
Mhm.
I did apply for someone to Texas Tech University, right?
Right.
And on campus job, there were a lot of them. They have portals where you can look for the on campus job, but
Right.
they gave like partial funding, and
Mhm.
most part of the tuition fee was supposed to be covered by the person. But there was the higher possibility that when the person was on campus, they could do the 20 hours, like you said, on campus job, and offset some cost and stuff. What would be your advice to somebody who is trying to use maybe family funds or some form of loan from their home country as subsistence for their study in USA, on the basis that they will be able to do this 8 hours, 20 hours a week job, save something, and use to defray their loans at home, or the family funds that they got from home? Do you think it's it's a brilliant idea?
Okay. Good one. Now, the thing about home loans is that it will still be converted into dollars to match up with the school's cost of attendance, right?
Hmm.
So even if you are looking at 30,000 or something, they'll still $30,000. They'll still have to convert it to the local and then give it to you as loan. But the thing is, because it's local and maybe the payment structure might be a little bit more flexible than it would be if you are taking an Empower, which is going to give it to you in dollars. So maybe the one at home will not be as financially constraining as the Empower one. But the thing about home loans from developing countries is that the rates are so high. So you might be paying like 40% per annum as interest on the loan. But maybe Empower might, I don't know Empower rate, but they might be giving maybe like 7, 10%, 15% or something. I'm not too sure. But one thing I'm sure is that loans in developing countries have high interest rates. So if you want to go that route and maybe come back home and then pay off, or be in the US and work to pay off. I mean, if the structure works and makes sense, I feel like you can go for it. Yeah. Yes. But
I,
one
I
thing
was
I know,
asking
yeah,
I was asking this question on the premise that let's say you have 20 working hours, right,
right.
per week, which is 80 maximum per
Man,
month.
yeah,
And if you manage to start immediately when you get on campus, and let's say on the average you are earning $15 per hour.
yeah. Okay.
Can we do some calculation?
Yeah, let's do some calculations here. So
um
15,
Times
15 per
80.
hour, right?
Yes, times 80.
Okay. So that is you're earning 1,200.
On this 1,200, you're going to pay accommodation from it.
You pay
You're
taxes.
going to you pay taxes, and you pay also food and transportation if it
Yeah.
becomes necessary.
Uh-huh.
So if you do all this calculation, and I'm using the 15 and for the 80, we know that is the maximum you can do, and the 15, it's a average, and
Right.
then depending on where you're working, let's say maybe even we can raise it to 20, but it will not make so
Hmm.
much difference, right? In that case, looking at you have to, because I think in US and in depending on the state, your living expenses and your tuition fee might range between 25 to 30,000 uh,
Yeah.
per year.
Right.
Yeah. So I feel like unless you are not under so much pressure to pay the loan back at home or the family funds back at home, then it will be a great deal to consider. But
Yeah.
if you are supposed to pay from this subsistence uh, job that you'll be doing 80 hours per month to offset it, then it's quite risky, or it will put so too much pressure on one to consider this loan for funding their studies in
Yeah.
United.
Yeah. That's
Hannah, Hannah has a question here, and I like the question. Do we have programs that attract more funding than others? And I will say yes, but I will let you speak to that.
okay. So thank you, Hannah, for the question. We do have programs that have more money, rich programs. That's what I call it. So if you're in the plant sciences, I remember when I was coming, I was talking with one person from like, is it India or Bangladesh? She reached out to me on one of our NDSU Facebook page. And she was like, oh, she's also coming. I was like, oh, I'm also coming for spring semester. And then I asked her how much she had for fun. And she was taking like 20,000. No, yeah, 20,000 a year in stipend. Okay. So 20,000, okay, divided by
Mhm.
12. She was taking around 1,006. I
For
was taking
masters,
around,
right?
yes. And I was taking around 1,002. And I was
Hmm.
like, oh, okay. That means that some people are gurus in this thing. So some departments have money than others. She was in like plant sciences also. And when I came, my roomie, who was also in plant science, was taking about the same figure, but I was taking less. And you feel like
Mm.
we're all doing 20 hours. We are all master students. We are all from the same place. So why is it that somebody is taking more? Because that department has more money. So that program has more funding. If you go to an English department, or communication or those literature, they don't have as much
Yeah.
money as the people in the sciences because how many entities will pay them to conduct research, right? Uh-huh. But if you're in the plant sciences, animal sciences, they have government has a lot of money to fund students in that area. So yes,
Thank you very much. And like you said, also it can even differ from one university to another.
yeah,
There are two universities I'm applying for someone and the same study program, right? One is offering on the average 2,400 per month, and another is offering about 2,700 per month. And
right.
sometimes it also these differences um, are brought about based on the states or something. As we wind up, I would ask this specific question because I there is someone here who might benefit from this response. I don't hear more about funding for uh, masters in nursing and stuff for um, maybe public health, sure, but specifically for nursing, I
Yeah,
don't hear much about it in the USA. What
yeah.
do you have any idea and why? If there are, can you elaborate a little bit? And if there are not, do you have any idea why it's not like this?
So yeah, that's true. That's a very good observation. Masters in nursing, even bachelors in nursing, medicine, law. Some fields are too technical that
Mm-hmm,
you would probably have to get into this system and learn this system's way of nursing.
mm-hmm,
So
mm-hmm.
they kind of don't want to say that, okay, we want people to come and then just come and continue like that. With they feel like, you see, US feels that, and that is not just a feeling, it's the truth. Their healthcare system is better. So they feel like
You have
you
not
are
been to
coming,
Czech Republic.
you need to upgrade. Like your country
Mm-hmm,
system needs to upgrade to their level. You can't just come from here and then, you know. But that being said, there's few schools that are funding for nursing programs at the master's level. There is Health University of Utah, there's University of Akron, and there's Louisville University. Those are the three that I know of head. The rest you have to keep digging, digging, digging,
is it
digging.
online or on
Oh
site?
yes, online. Online you can, no, not online masters, on campus.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean,
Can you
the
mention
information is online.
the names again?
So Health
I think you have
University,
it already, but yeah, just
yeah, I have
mention
it on my TikTok. Health University of Utah, the University of Akron, Ohio,
it.
and
Hmm.
then Louisville University is in Kentucky. So it's only
And
three
these
that I've come across.
you know that they offer this funding on admission or
Yes, yes,
okay.
they have was assistantships for nurses. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and you have to be a licensed nurse in your home
Registered.
country.
Okay. Okay.
Then you do a transcript evaluation to check
Mm-hmm.
the US equivalence of your
Of your transcript.
transcript.
Mm-hmm.
Then they'll say that, okay, based on your transcript evaluation, this is equivalent to a US bachelor's degree in nursing. So we can give you the master's
Oh,
designation.
yeah, this I didn't mention. I also realized that sometimes the fundings are very available, and it goes back to the point I made earlier on about investing in your study abroad a little bit.
Right.
Sometimes the funding is available, but for example, that particular university or program requires you to do the credential evaluation. And this
Yeah.
credential evaluation is between 170 USD to 225 USD for the standard. There is the basic and the standard. And if you convert this to Ghana cedis, it's a lot of money, and
But
you just
yeah.
think about that one alone, and you don't want to
Yeah.
continue further. You want to look at where they will accept unofficial and stuff, and those have quite less funding possibilities for you. And for some of these reasons, we people live without this scholarship opportunities. So again, I feel like it's important to look at because I have seen, for example, public health in Boston, uh, University of Boston or something. They offer this. And even they waive the English language proficiency test, but you have to do the credential evaluation. And
Yeah.
sometimes also the application fee can be a bit higher compared to some other universities. But at least you are sure that once you go through the processes and then you get admitted, you will be funded. And and if you compare the cost of you being funded, the tuition fee, the stipends, you put them together and then you compare that to the cost of doing the credential evaluation, you will see that that is just a tip of an iceberg. You know, your cost of uh, evaluating your transcript is just a tip of the iceberg for, or it's just minute, insignificant in terms of how much you have to pay in tuition and living expenses. So, just a little investment in oneself would better their chance of getting admitted and then being funded. You spoke about a personal statement or statement of purpose, how technical it should be, how good it should be. There are people who have gone ahead and have been successful. They have the experience, they have the technical know-how to assist people. Some will do it for free for you, others might not. But I feel like if that will help you maximize or optimize your success of being funded, you have to look at it. It's a whole investment and it encompasses several components, bringing several things together to make you or to make one stand out in the application in order to attract a certain kind of funds. So I think application and funds should be considered holistically if you are an international student and you are dreaming of studying in the United States of America. Danny, if you have any words of admonishment or um, encouragement or some final words to our listeners, you can share with us. And please, if you still do have a question, we have some few minutes before we end. And if not, you can still put in the comment section and we will respond to your questions later on. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. So, my final words of encouragement is that you have to put in a lot of hours to research. It would not be a walk in the park trying to find a school that fits your entire academic profile. It's going to take a lot of hours. For me, I used to sleep around 3 a.m. Why? Because I'm looking for a school. So it's going to know that it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of hours. You have to be mentally ready, psych yourself that you are not going to give up no matter what the outcome is, because this goal is on your heart. So that's number one. Number two, try to be as low budget as possible. If you don't really have money or you don't really come from a well-to-do home, try and be as low budget as possible. And what low budget as possible means is that you are going to filter out a school that is not taking application fee, a school not taking GRE, a school that will initially accept an unofficial transcript. Basically that's getting most of the cost out of the way. For visa fee and all those things, you can't waive it. You will pay visa fee, there's no waiver for that. So unless you are getting like a full ride scholarship under maybe a MasterCard program or something, besides that, you are paying your own visa fee, you are paying your own service fee, paying your own flight. Okay.
Let me interrupt a bit. And also, I was checking one university, for example, University of Toledo, right?
Yeah.
And when I opened their site, what attracted me was also the fact that they indicated that over 85% of their international students are funded, right? So one must also consider the propensity or their chances of being funded when they are admitted into such university or program. Please, you can
Yeah.
carry on.
Yeah, so that's just about it. Be as low budget as possible, and then I think it can really, really help you. You can also look at schools with high acceptance rate, maybe 90% plus. It means it's not going to be difficult for you to enter. And then you can also make your search based on what is the minimum GPA the school would accept me for. So if it's 2.5, I have a list, I think just a couple of schools where 2.5 minimum is acceptable. Yeah, most schools in US take 3.0 and above. But if you can find some that are 2.5, I think Morgan State University is 2.5, Marshall University, there's also Fort Hayes State University, also like 2.5. And then University of Memphis, also 2.5. So you can just make your search that way, and you're going to come across a lot of schools that will fit your low budget. So that's what I would give you as my final words of encouragement. So don't give up, and also go low budget.
Thank you
Thank
so much. If you didn't join from the start, Danny is doing a lot with the studies in USA, and he's giving a lot of insight to people. I've seen so many of his posts where people are thanking him for his directions on how to secure visa, or how he helped them secure visa through the tips he gave. There are also several information about low budget schools, schools without tuition, and how to attract multiple funding for studies. He's interviewed people who have been successful through this, and interestingly, um, all his channels are named Danny Legend. So you
you.
can you can easily find him on TikTok. You can find him on YouTube, and I think X, right?
Yeah, I'm
Twitter.
also on X. Yeah,
And he's
and
starting
then
to build,
Facebook too.
yeah, he's starting to build his Facebook
Yeah,
audience. So
yeah. I also have
you can,
Telegram too. Yeah,
yeah, okay.
yeah.
So
Same
please,
name, Telegram. Yeah, Danny
same
Legend.
name on tele.
Yeah.
So connect with him, and I think you will not fail. Like we have all said, studying abroad is an investment. I applied to over, when I say over 200 universities, you may think I'm exaggerating, but I did, and that was between 2012 and 2015 until I got, it was 3 years before I got masters, but it is worth it, right? And so um don't lose hope. If you fail once, try again.
Try
There is
again.
a saying that those who fail are those who quit. If you don't quit, you will definitely learn something and improve and be better, and subsequently get what you want. So we will encourage you all to put in your maximum best. You can share this um, discussion with people that will need as well. Thank you for joining us, and see you again later. Let me see if I have a question. If I don't have a question, then we can close. Okay, I don't have any more question. Thank you, Danny, for your time and for your expertise. We appreciate that a lot.
All right, sure. Thank you too for having me on the show. Really appreciate it.
Okay,
Yeah,
you're
Doc.
welcome.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right. See you all.
thanks. Bye.
All right. Bye.